Good morning to everybody who has come out today. I'd like to see a little more sun today, but you know we can't plan on that all the time. I'd like to welcome you to coming out for our morning to celebrate the opening of this beautiful Central Sports Complex. I'd like to thank you for remaining flexible on our opening dates. For you that don't know me, my name is Donald Johnson. I am the chairman of the County Parks and Rec Board. And just a little background reminder here, with the COVID-19, we do ask that you to remain socially distanced as you can. Face coverings when you're up close to other people, 6 feet away if you can from your nearest neighbor. Just keep the celebration and not to spread any outbreak from here. If any of you are keeping track, it's been over 20 years since this project was initially conceived and approved. It's been 12 years since the Timmons Group first developed the design plans, and about a year and a half since we broke ground here. Today we're opening the Fauquier County's newest recreational facility, complete with ball fields, trails, and other amenities that will serve the citizens of the county for many generations. We are going to be filming this event for viewing later on our Facebook and website pages and on Instagram and Twitter. We'd like to thank our Superintendent Jimmy Lyons for lending his outstanding filmmaking skills to this endeavor. There were many hands were involved in making of this sports complex. I do see some of you here today. We have Steve and Rita Rogers, who provided this site at significant savings to the county and the residents of Fauquier. From the Board of Supervisors, we have Rick Gerhart from Cedar Run District, Mary Lee McDaniel, the board chair, and from the Marshall District. And Chris Butler, I didn't see Chris yet, if he's here, from Lee District. And we do support all the support we received from Chris in the setup and everything, and Chris Granger from the Central District, and Holder Trumbo from the Scott District as of our Board of Supervisors. We'd also like to thank former Supervisor Ray Graham, who was very much a part of this project from its inception. We have fellow board members of the Parks and Rec Board here today. All of our board members are here. John Wright from Center District, Clay Lescalite from Scott District, David Graham from the Marshall District, Carl Bailey, who will be one of our honorees today, and myself. So all of our board is here. We have our special honorees today. Carl Bailey, our longtime Parks and Recreation Board member and former chairman from Lee District. Larry Miller, our former Parks and Recreation Director. We have generous donors, Christy Connolly and Andy Johnson from the Path Foundation, and Kurt and Donna Rogers. Bob Moore with the Fauquier Trails Coalition, and Leon Williams, who was with the Pedestrian, Bicycle, and Greenway Advisories Committee. Both of these groups have been tremendously helpful to the department throughout the years. And I don't know if they're here or not because I don't recognize them, but also with us here today we're supposed to be Mayor Carter Neville, Commonwealth Attorney Scott Hook, Commissioner of the Revenue, Eric Maybach, and Sheriff Robert Mosier, who I did see here. Glad that you all were able to come here today to celebrate with us. Now, for a brief overview, I'd like to introduce our board member, John Wright. John is going to be giving us a brief overview of what is here, who helped to fund this, design and construction of the sports complex, and key staff who worked so hard behind the scenes to get us to where we are today. So, John?
Thank you, Don. Good morning, everyone, and again, welcome to the new Central Fauquier Sports Complex. This sports complex sits on 74 acres. These sports fields and trails will serve a variety of youth and adult sports teams, and initially include 5 rectangular Bermuda grass fields for soccer, football, lacrosse, and field hockey, 1 full-size artificial turf field with markings for soccer, lacrosse, and football, 5 diamonds for baseball, softball, youth, adult, baseball, and softball, a multi-purpose trail, an equestrian trail which follows the Larry Miller Trail on the side. We have 2 entrances. The main entrance is off of Metz Road, and there's a second on Old Auburn Road used for emergency use only. The budget for this project was over $13.1 million, paid for with debt funding of $8.7 million and $4.4 in county and grant funds. Grant funding source was from the Virginia Department of Transportation for recreational access and trails. Other funding donations were made thanks to a major grant from the Path Foundation and a various generous donation from Kurt and Donna Rogers for the artificial turf field, only second in the county. Fully developed, this complex will cost about $17.6 million. Actually, it is not fully completed yet. Future improvements will include the installation of additional water and septic lines, a water tower, septic and drain field system, 2 permanent restroom structures, an irrigation well, and field irrigation system for lighting the 3 fields and parking areas. County government budget challenges related to the coronavirus pandemic will likely delay these improvements for at least 2 years. Some county funds could be available for infrastructure improvements, but we're also dependent on donations to help with restrooms, which is our top priority, irrigation priority number 2, and lighting our 3rd priority. So if any of you here today would like to stroke a check while you're here, I'll be glad to take care of it. It is my pleasure to also recognize and applaud Bill Vest and the design firm of Timmons Group of Richmond for the facility design, Kurt and TJ Rogers with SW Rogers of Gainesville for construction, and the construction engineering inspection firm of Whitman, Gerhart Associates of Baltimore for their tremendous work on this complex. Also, we are very appreciative of Bob Benyo with Premier Sports, who is a subcontracting company responsible for the installation of the artificial turf surface and the Bermuda turf on the fields. Premier Sports is in charge of maintaining the ball fields too, which, as you can see, is no easy task. Thanks also to VDOT, who oversaw the Mets road improvements and for providing guidance on trail construction and grant compliance. County staff, Aaron Koznecki, Sue Monaco, former finance director John Munch, Donnie Koznecki, Kerry Wharton, Heather Sturdivant, and Gary Respecki worked very hard behind the scenes to ensure compliance with federal, state, and local process to provide a first-rate facility. Please join me at this time, and let's give them a very loud round of applause. At this time, I'll turn it back over to Don.
Thank you, John. Now I'd like to introduce the Supervisor Rick Gerhart, who's going to give us some historical perspective on how this sports complex unfolded. So, Mr. Gerhart.
Good morning. I'm not sure how I was selected to be the supervisor standing up here. I guess it's in my district, so I got the nod on it, but we have several others here, including Chris Granger, who spent a ton of time on this project. And at the end of my comments, I'm going to invite Chris up to say a few words as well. So we are very fortunate to be standing here today in this absolutely beautiful sports complex. As I reflect on the benefits it will bring to our community, I'm most excited for our kids and parents. This complex will be a place for our children to work on positive skills like teamwork, good sportsmanship, leadership, and creating friendships. I also think about parents being able to model the ideals of fairness and kindness and developing a sense of community with other parents of participating children while attending sports events here. Now for a mini history lesson, which includes some of former Supervisor Ray Graham's insights on how this beautiful sports complex came together. In the 1990s, the Sports Field Study Group, the Parks and Rec Board, and the public identified concerns about shortage of recreational facilities, sports fields in this county. The Board of Supervisors, who at the time was comprised of Harry Atherton, Joe Winkleman, Larry Weeks, Sharon McCamey, and Ray Graham, unanimously agreed to work to begin to create more ball fields. Early deliberations of the Board of Supervisors contemplated 5 complexes in the county, 1 in each magisterial district. However, the supervisors decided it was more feasible to pursue 3 sports complexes, 1 each in the northern, southern, and central regions. Rationale for prioritizing a search for a sports complex site in the central region first was based on population density, and it's generally agreed this location would serve the largest demand. To begin the quest for providing more ball fields, a search began for land with the idea that land didn't necessarily have to be purchased or donated, rather permission granted to use land. On July 5th, 1999, the supervisors authorized the expenditure of $3.5 million for land acquisition and certain infrastructure improvements required to establish 3 sports field complexes to serve the youth of Fauquier County. to get my fingers to work, sorry. In February of 2000, Board of Supervisors established procedures and protocols for the acquisition of property for this complex. The Board of Supervisors appointed a sports field land acquisition project team consisting of team leader Supervisor Ray Graham, then County Attorney Paul McCullough, Deputy County Administrator Randy Wheeler, and Parks and Rec Director Larry Miller. Next, the team project was required to submit its final land acquisition recommendation for each region to the Board of Supervisors. Parks and Recreation Board member Carl Bailey approached Steve and Rita Rogers, hoping they might have land available for use. The Rogers offered this land to the county at a very reasonable price. Then on June 19, 2000, the Board of Supervisors authorized the Site Acquisition Committee to negotiate a contract with the Rogers family to purchase land to establish sports fields in the central portion of the county. In 2001, the land for the Central Sports Complex was purchased. In 2004, Fauquier Youth Sports Coordination Council, the Parks and Recreation Board, and the Board of Supervisors approved the plans for the Central Sports Complex. Soon after the purchase, plans were begun to create the complex, but were delayed for a number of years when the county unexpectedly received funding to build the Northern Fauquier Community Park. December 13, 2018 marked a major turning point for this project. The Board of Supervisors agreed to fund the $13.2 million Central Fauquier Sports Complex project. The predicted completion of all fields was expected to be August of 2021, a year from this month, with at least 4 fields completed by summer of 2019. However, faced with rising construction costs, a piecemeal approach to completing infrastructure, and insufficient funds allocated for completion of the project, the supervisors decided to substantially complete the project. The supervisors asked the county staff to identify additional funding. They were successful in finding almost $4 million in the county's budget and capital improvements plan that could be reallocated to the sports complex. April 11, 2019, a ceremonial groundbreaking for the Central Sports Complex was held, and in December, the supervisors voted to fund construction costs for the fields in the amount of $10.3 million. And that concludes the history lesson on the Central Sports Complex. So I just want to give my special thanks, and on behalf of the Board of Supervisors, our special thanks to the Rogers family for all they did to bring this to fruition, their help with the acquisition of the land, S.W. Rogers in creating this wonderful space for us. The family's been absolutely wonderful to work with, so thank you very much for all your help. At this time, I'd like to invite Supervisor Granger up to say a few words, and I know I'm breaking with the schedule here, but I think it's fitting that that Chris have a say here.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Rick, and thank you everybody for coming out, and I'll be brief to not throw the schedule off. But I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. Some things that strike me about this project is just creativity and innovation. Throughout about everything that happened with this project. There were so many people involved and so many creative thoughts and imagination had to be used to get this thing across the finish line. But I'll throw a big date out there. I wandered onto the board in 2012, and this reality was on my bucket list of one of the reasons I ran, because there wasn't a lot of sports fields for my daughter to play on, and the sports fields that were around needed some help. And when we got on the board, we started doing a lot of work with capital money going to the existing fields, but this was always something that was a dream of a lot of people. And I'd like to thank Wes Kennedy. I know he's not here today, but at the time he was the Parks and Rec rep for the Center District, and he started poking me immediately in 2012 and kept it up until he moved out of the area, and was a big reason that Central Sports Complex was always on my radar. And then another big date I'll throw out there is 2016. And that's when the board that is currently sitting was elected and came on. And this project went from being in the future years category to the political will of the 4 other members of the board to going into the we're going to fund it. So it takes a community to get something like this done, and the community got this done. And I thank everybody who was involved, because this is forever going to be here. This is forever going to be here for our kids. I mean, seeing these baseball games going on out here right now is incredible. And even, just a turf field. My daughter played field hockey, and just the ability of a turf field that can be rented for not a lot of money for a team is incredible. And hopefully more kids get into field hockey. They get into the other sports that use turf fields. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who was involved with this, because it really did take a community, and I think what we're looking at today is a result of that, and I thank you all very much, and thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Granger. Residents of Fauquier County can be grateful to our first honoree. During Carl Bailey's service as Parks and Recreation Board member, recreational facilities for the citizens of the county have significantly increased, including the development or improvement of Monroe Park, the Marshall Community Center, Larry Weeks Community Pool, Warrenton Branch Greenway, Bend Hill Village Green, the number 18 schoolhouse, northern, southern, and central complexes, and many others. Carl's strong desire to bring baseball leagues to Fauquier County goes far back to 1968. He saw a lack of organized youth activities many years ago and envisioned and led the charge to create youth baseball in Fauquier County. He served as the director of the Fauquier County Youth Baseball League from 1975 to 1988, and even obtained a donation from Alice Jane Childs to build a baseball field named in her honor in Casanova. In fact, Carl, Ernest Lee Childs, and others helped from the Calverton Casanova form that Calverton Casanova Little League, which sometimes on a good day might even have beat Marshall, but not often. I'm just throwing that in there on Carl. But this league supported 8 baseball and 2 softball teams. Carl coached and mentored many young men who got their start playing baseball under his tutelage. He helped build the first baseball field at H.M. Pearson Elementary School. He coached for more than 30 years and was known in the CCC Little League for not turning away any child who ever wanted to play. Carl Bailey has been a member of the Fauquier County Parks and Recreation Board, serving the Lee and Cedar Run districts since 1990, and served as the chairman of that board for over 17 of those years. Believe me when I tell you, he's been a staunch advocate for all children in the county, enabling all to participate in recreational programs regardless of the ability to pay. He quietly worked with benefactors to bring these ball fields and the sports complex to life in Fauquier County. As chairman of the Fauquier County Parks and Recreation Board, I speak for us all when I say one of Carl's biggest dreams has been to see this completion of this complex. So Carl, thanks for being your long-standing commitment to baseball, youth sports, and the children of this beautiful county. And here's to a job well done. And on a personal note, having played against Mr. Bailey when I was young and for Mr. Bailey as I got older, and working for him and learning a lot of my values from him, it couldn't come to a better man. Carl, would you like to come up and make a few comments?
Please not. You good? I'm really not this old. I just got out of the hospital. I've had some serious problems. But it's wonderful to be here today, see all our friends and neighbors. And this field is a dream come true. I'm not going to stay up here and keep you out in the rain. We got some other things to do. But I'm really, really thankful for what we got here. I'm proud of our Parks and Recreation Department and Larry Miller. God love him. He worked for years to get this done. Thank you very much for coming out.
Morning, everybody. Hey, I'll try and be quick because I know the rain's coming. As Mr. Bailey talked about Mr. Larry Miller, let me tell you a little bit about Mr. Larry Miller. Kind of hard to believe that he retired from the Parks and Recreation as a director over 1 year ago. Larry served his community well for almost 35 years by ensuring residents had access to activities and opportunities to improve their health and well-being. As a matter of fact, Larry was at the helm when all 3 sports complex projects were authorized by the Board of Supervisors and has initiated the majority of our parks and trails. Larry truly is a trails guy and was awarded the American Trails 2013 Advocacy Award for Virginia by the Fauquier Trails Coalition. He played a critical role in the development and expansion of the trails in the county. Under Larry, the Warrenton Branch Greenway became the county's first trail, which later received a National Recreation Trail designation by American Trails. During his tenure, he grew the county trail system to almost 9.5 miles of paved public trails, over 4 miles of nature trails, and just over 2 miles of sharrows. There are currently 21 trails in the county, with new trails at Woods of Warrenton and grass-mown trails at Rappahannock Station, which are in the works. All were initiated during Larry's term. Larry Miller had the foresight to create support groups like the Pedestrian, Bicycle, and Greenway and Advisory Committee, the Fauquier Trails Coalition. They both have guided the Parks and Recreation Department and financially supported for trails throughout the county. Larry has also the wisdom to pursue trail development opportunities and to start planning early. As a result, residents are enjoying pedestrian and bike-friendly environments and trails for health, recreation, and commuting, including the one we're about to open. Larry, for all these accomplishments, we really want to thank you. And if you have something you'd like to say, come on up. It's all very difficult to get Mr. Miller to come up and say anything, so it looks like he's going to come up this way, so that's really good. Thanks, Larry. Larry Miller.
Thank you.
It's been an honor and a pleasure to work with all of these individuals that are here today, and I thank all of you all so much. I've become even more appreciative of trails over the past year and their value to a community. Trails serve to get people healthy and keep them healthy. They protect our environment. They boost local economy, and they can bring people and communities together, which is sorely needed at this current moment in time. I'm sure this trail's going to yield those same benefits to our community, and I really look forward to the day that it's connected to the Warrenton Branch Greenway and the Cedar Run Greenway. And thank you all so much.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Larry. Thanks again, Larry. Okay, we're all going to move over there to open the trail up.
Before we go over to that one, let's go ahead and do the one that's close, and
Okay.
then we'll go do that one right there.
All right, so
So
we're
we're
going to
going to
follow
go ahead
Mr.
and
Johnson.
reveal the sign here for the baseball complex real quick.